The hit CW show The Flash recently started its 7th season. The show's lead character, police forensic scientist Barry Allen, made his first appearance in DC Comics in 1956. A lot of things have changed in those 6+ decades. Not only has the TV show had to adapt stories for the Scarlet Speedster for the small screen, but it has also had to adapt to changing times. Sharp-eyed fans of both the comics and the TV show have noticed several differences between the two. Hey folks, and welcome back to The Binger. Today we're going to be taking a look at the 25 changes that the Flash TV show has had to make to the Flash comic characters. Number 1. Origin Story. Everyone knows how the Flash got his superpowers. Forensic scientist Barry Allen was working in his lab late one night when a lightning bolt struck him. The chemicals spilled all over Barry, giving him the power of superhuman speed. While these details line up in both the TV show and in the comics, in the TV show the lightning bolt was linked to an accident with an experimental particle accelerator at S.T.A.R Labs. In the comics, the lightning strike was a random coincidence. Instead of getting electrocuted or suffering from chemical burns, Barry got superpowers. Why? Because comics. Number 2. Parental supervision. One of Barry Allen's greatest regrets was his inability to save his mother from the mysterious man in yellow who took her life. In the TV show, Barry lost his mother and police arrested his father for the crime. Barry's father was released due to a lack of evidence, but Barry never gave up on pursuing the mysterious entity who took his mother from him. While this story does line up with the later editions of the comics, it doesn't match the Flash's family history at the beginning of the comic book's run. Number 3. Color changes. One of the Flash's trademarks is his full-body red suit. I mean, after all, they don't call him the Scarlet Speedster for nothing now, do they? Now in the comics, the bright red suit and the dazzling yellow accents just jump off the page. On the TV screen though, the same bright red wouldn't have had the same visual appeal. When the show started, the Flash suit had a deep red, almost burgundy hue to it. As the show evolved, so did the look. Also, the TV version of Barry Allen, actor Grant Gustin has dark brown hair, and according to the DC Comics database, Barry Allen has blonde hair under that crimson cowl of his. Number 4. Central City. The Flash makes his home in Central City, USA. Barry Allen works for the Central City Police Department. The TV show places Central City in western Missouri, just across the Gardner River from Keystone City, Kansas. In the Arrowverse, about 600 miles separate the Flash's home in Central City from the Arrow Cave in Star City. However, the comics sometimes place Central City near Athens, Ohio. During filming for the show, both Central City and Star City are in Vancouver, Canada. Number 5. Star of the show. The Central City branch of Science and Technology Advanced Research Laboratories serves as the central location for much of the action in The Flash. Barry Allen and his friends use the S.T.A.R Labs facility to measure Barry's powers, locate potential adversaries, and create methods to neutralize evil metahumans. While S.T.A.R Labs is a major part of the Flash TV show, most of the comic stories involving the facility feature a different hero. The labs have been featured in Superman comics with facilities in Metropolis, Gotham City, Central City, and other major cities all over the world. Number 6. Iris West. One facet of the Flash's life that has maintained its consistency across different media is the love between Barry Allen and Iris West. While that love has been a foundation of the character, the TV show features some noticeable differences from the comic book version. In the comics, journalist Iris West met police scientist Barry Allen while they were both investigating a homicide in Central City. When Barry lost his mother and his father was arrested, he was taken in by Central City Police Detective Joe West, Iris's father. From a young age, Barry was raised side by side with the woman he would go on to marry. Moving on. Number 7. Wally West. One of the biggest differences between the Flash TV show and the comics comes from the storyline of Wally West. In the comics, Wally West was the nephew of Iris West and Barry Allen. In an incident eerily similar to the one that gave Barry his powers, Wally was also doused in electrified chemicals and gained super speed. Wally would then take on the name Kid Flash and later take on the mantle of The Flash after Barry lost his life in Crisis on Infinite Earths. On the TV show, Wally West is Iris's younger brother. Wally gained his super speed powers when the car he was driving was struck by lightning. The car's experimental fuel mixture altered his DNA, giving him super speed on par with the Flash. Number 8. Joe West. Central City Police Captain Joe West has served as a father figure, a role model, and a mentor to Barry Allen for most of his young life. Joe also helped Barry to get his job as a forensic scientist at the CCPD. The biggest difference between the TV version of Joe West and his comic book counterpart is he doesn't have one. While the character of Joe West didn't appear in the original comics, Barry was taken in by a CCPD detective named Daryl Fryer. Fryer was having an affair with Barry's mother and took the child in after she lost her life. Number 9. Eddie THAWNE. While the name THAWNE has a special place in infamy for Flash Comics fans, more on that here in a minute, one name that doesn't come up is Eddie THAWNE. On the TV show, Eddie was a Central City Police detective partnered with Joe West. He was also the show's first love interest for Iris West, while Barry was seeing fellow police scientist Patty Spivot. Although Eddie was not the most heralded detective on the force, Eddie later learned that one of his descendants would go on to be one of the Flash's greatest enemies. So, he sacrificed himself to prevent the villain from being born. Or so he thought. Number 10. Harrison Wells. Dr. Harrison Wells has served as both a genius behind S.T.A.R Labs and a mentor to both Barry Allen and the rest of Team Flash. Wells' story throughout the show has been one of twists and turns, complete with identity theft, alternate universes, and reality-bending adventures. The character never appeared in the comics. The closest analog to Wells in the comics may be Professor M.L. Hamilton, a recurring character in the Superman comics. Like Wells, Hamilton was a lead scientist at S.T.A.R Labs. Also like Wells, Hamilton would use his scientific knowledge to take on Superman as the supervillain, Ruin. Number 11. CISCO RAMON. A major difference between the comics and the TV show is Team Flash, the hero's supporting cast. One of the most valuable members of Team Flash is CISCO RAMON, the team's mechanical engineer. If the Flash needs a gizmo or a gadget, CISCO can whip it up in you get it. The same particle accelerator accident that gave Barry his superpowers also endowed CISCO with superhuman abilities. As the superhero Vibe, CISCO can tap into the vibrational energies between dimensions, enabling him to travel to alternate Earths. In 1984, Vibe made his first comic book appearance. This version, named Paco Ramon, had the power to generate sonic shockwaves. He was also a former gang member and an accomplished breakdancer. Why? Because the 80s. Number 12. Ralph Dibny. One of the most beloved heroes in the DC Comics canon is Ralph Dibny, better known as the Elongated Man. On the show, Ralph is a former police detective who becomes a private investigator. Ralph gains his fantastical stretching powers from exposure to dark matter while riding on the city bus. The comic book version of Ralph Dibny has similar powers to the TV counterpart, in that he can stretch his limbs, control his torso, and deflect bullets. However, comics Ralph got his stretching powers from a rare fruit drink called Gingold. This version of the character was also a longtime member of the Justice League, along with heavy hitters like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern. Number 13. Caitlin Snow. Another vital member of Team Flash is Dr. Caitlin Snow. One of Team Flash's most dangerous foes is Killer Frost, a woman who can freeze people with a kiss. The catch? Well, Caitlin Snow and Killer Frost, they're the exact same person. In the comics, Caitlin Snow is only the latest character to adopt the Killer Frost name and powers. Her predecessor was Louise Lincoln, Caitlin's co-worker at S.T.A.R Labs. Louise was targeted by the criminal organization known as Hive. When Hive agents infiltrated a S.T.A.R Labs facility, they locked Caitlin in a special room designed for low-temperature experiments. When Caitlin yanked out all the wires in the lab's coolant system, the result changed her into a heat vampire. Number 14. Ronnie Raymond. Ronnie Raymond was a structural engineer on the S.T.A.R Labs particle accelerator. When the accelerator exploded, Ronnie was vaporized and presumed lost. Meanwhile, Professor Martin Stein was working on his pet project. Stein's firestorm matrix allowed Ronnie Raymond's remains to merge with Stein, creating the flame-headed hero known as Firestorm. While the TV version does share some strong similarities to its comic book counterpart, fans will notice several differences. For instance, the comic book version of Ronnie isn't a professional engineer. He's a high school kid. Also, comic book Firestorm can change the atomic structure of any non-organic substance, giving him nearly unlimited powers over matter. Number 15. Fire and Ice. In most cases, fire and ice don't mix. In the case of The Flash, Ronnie Raymond's fire and Caitlin Snow's ice made for a powerful duo. The couple was engaged before the particle accelerator accident and Ronnie's transformation into Firestorm. In the comics, Firestorm and Killer Frost are bitter enemies. The first Killer Frost was a university student named Crystal Frost, and she swore revenge against Professor Stein when he declined her advances. Killer Frost's ice powers make her a deadly adversary, allowing her to drop the air temperature to near 0 degrees Kelvin. And at that temperature, all atomic motion freezes to a halt, which would put a stop to the nuclear man. Number 16, Captain Cold. Another fascinating aspect of the universe of The Flash is his group of enemies, also known as his Rogues Gallery. One of the leaders of the Flash's fearsome foes is Leonard Snart, also known as Captain Cold. While Killer Frost generates her powers through her biochemistry, Captain Cold uses a cold gun to freeze temperatures near absolute zero. On The Flash, engineering genius CISCO RAMON developed the cold gun technology as a failsafe in case the Scarlet Speedster ever decided to turn to the dark side. Snart stole the gun from his employer and used it on him before becoming a supervillain. In the comics, Snart developed the cold gun technology himself and became the man who mastered absolute zero. Number 17, Heatwave. In another case of fire and ice making for a combustible couple, Leonard Snart typically partners with pyromaniac Mick Rory, better known as Heatwave. Just as Snart uses his cold gun to combat the Flash, Rory uses a handheld flamethrower. The heat gun can burn through almost any material. In early versions of the comics, Heatwave wore a fireproof suit and used a heat gun to fight the Flash. In later volumes, Heatwave also developed the power of pyrokinesis, which allowed him to manipulate flames with his mind. Number 18, Golden Glider. Another one of Captain Cold's occasional partners is Golden Glider, a former figure skater turned criminal. Leonard and Lisa Snart are brother and sister. While her brother uses a cold gun and his partner uses a heat gun, Golden Glider uses, you guessed it, a gold gun. Throughout her comics history, Golden Glider has had different powers. Early versions of Golden Glider used special ice skates to skate on air, which allowed her to use her grace and her agility to defeat her opponents. Number 19, Weather Wizard. Another longtime member of Flash's comic book Rogues Gallery was Mark Martin, who's also known as the Weather Wizard. In the TV show, Martin got his powers from the same particle accelerator accident that gave Flash his super speed. Martin's powers let him create tornadoes, call down lightning, and freeze the air solid. When Team Flash learned about the Stormy Scoundrel, CISCO crafted a weather wand to counter his powers. In the comics, instead of the wand stopping Martin's powers, it becomes a tool to help Martin focus his abilities. Number 20, the Pied Piper. The particle accelerator accident at S.T.A.R Labs spawned numerous metahuman heroes and villains. But what if someone stopped the accident from happening? Well, someone tried, and they got fired for it. Hartley Rathaway was a S.T.A.R Labs physicist who found a flaw in the accelerator. He tried to stop it from going online, but was fired before he could prevent the catastrophe. After the explosion, Rathaway gained the powers of super hearing. He also created sonic gloves to attack the Flash and became known as the Pied Piper. In the comics, Rathaway used his expertise in music and physics to create a flute that hypnotized his listeners. He also had a sonic tuning fork that would paralyze anyone who heard its tone. Number 21, the Trickster. A psychotic villain terrorizes a city dressed as a clown. A cowled hero appears out of nowhere and defeats the smiling menace. No, it's not that clown, or that hero. James Jesse, better known as the Trickster, is one of the Flash's most enduring villains. While he's played mostly for laughs in the comics, his TV counterpart is nothing to laugh at. In fact, much of the TV Trickster's characterizations take after the Clown Prince of Crime. Star Wars star Mark Hamill voiced the Joker in Batman the Animated Series. Hamill played the Trickster in both the short-lived 1990s Flash live-action TV show and the modern version. Number 22, Savitar. While Flash's rogues often battle him over money or power, another set of villains take their battles to a whole other level. Some of these next-level villains can match the Scarlet Speedster step for step in the speed department. And one of those rogues is Savitar, the self-proclaimed god of speed. On the TV show, Savitar is an alternate version of Barry Allen that seeks to destroy all the time remnants that spawned from Flash's time travel adventures. In the comics, Savitar is a fighter pilot who gained super speed after a lightning strike hit his plane. Comic Savitar could not only use superhuman speed, but he could also lend it to other people and steal speed from moving objects. Number 23, Reverse Flash. Another evil speedster bent on destroying the Flash is THAWNE, also known as Reverse Flash. In both the comics and the TV show, THAWNE came from centuries in the future to stand as one of the Flash's most dangerous foes. In the TV show, THAWNE went back in time to remove a young Barry Allen from history. Instead, he took the life of Barry's mother, a trauma that Barry held on to his entire life. In the comics, THAWNE's goal was to torture his idol throughout his past, present, and future. Number 24, Crisis on Infinite Earths. Crisis on Infinite Earths was one of the most pivotal stories in the history of comics. The 12-issue miniseries ran in 1985 and 1986. The goal was to consolidate the massive number of alternate realities from decades of comic issues into a single storyline. A major plot point involved Barry Allen tapping into the Speed Force to stop a universe-wide catastrophe while sacrificing himself in the process. The Arrowverse family of shows will bring the Crisis storyline to the small screen this winter. The story's gonna start with an episode of Supergirl followed by Batwoman the next night. The Flash will feature the crucial midpoint episode in December, with Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow wrapping everything up in January. Number 25, Legacy of the Flash. For the first season of The Flash, Barry Allen was the singular Scarlet Speedster. The next season he would meet Jay Garrick, the Earth 2 version of The Flash. In the comics, the Jay Garrick version made his first appearance in the 1940s, while the Barry Allen version wouldn't come along for another 16 years. After Barry sacrificed himself in Crisis on Infinite Earths, his nephew Wally West, then known as Kid Flash, would take up the Flash's mantle. At one point, Barry's grandson from the future, Bart Allen, also took on the Flash's identity. Will Barry still be wearing the red suit after this winter's crisis, or will another speedster take over his legacy? Stay tuned to find out. So, what do you think? Are there any differences that we missed? Let us know in the comments section down below. Be sure to like this video and share it with all of your Flash fan friends, and subscribe to The Binger to get notified of all of our latest videos. Thanks for watching.